Hello and welcome. You're watching FYI. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Now, 2020 was a hard year for students. Those in keyboard years had to fight a long court battle to finally get their exams cancelled. Some were not happy with that as well. But the worst hit, perhaps, were those who were actually planning to get into colleges in that year, planning to study abroad as well. They were all left in a limbo. Now, come 2021, we seem to be getting some clarity, streamlining on exams, governments taking note of students traveling abroad. They got their vaccines quickly prioritized as well. So they were all set to finally get their life back on track. But then comes a new problem. Sudden flight cancellation. Several students wrote to FYI saying that they started receiving texts and emails that their flights had either been cancelled or rescheduled. Some saying that they didn't receive any communication at all, but they had to check and recheck to understand that their flights, for which they paid some hefty amounts, were suddenly not operating. Which are these flights? Is it all only to those who are traveling to the US? Is it thanks to the new travel advisory that has come in? And why is the government not being able to, in fact, not just the government, even these airlines, not being able to communicate this properly to the students who are waiting very, very anxiously, some even in these COVID times, just days before their travel, rushing to the centers, trying to understand how to go on with their lives. That will be our focus on FYI today, and we'll be joined by some of those students as well, who will be telling us their plight into what exactly has unfolded in the past couple of days. We'll be going across to them and we'll have some experts as well on the panel. But first up, let's get to our explainer and tell you some basics on how exactly things are going. Now, what are the current travel restrictions, especially if you're traveling to the States? Now, the scheduled international flights remain suspended as of now. All international travel is subject to bilateral air bubble arrangements, which are dynamically changing, remember, because of the way virus is really behaving and how numbers are really having an impact on those decisions as well. Air bubble arrangements restrictive in nature as well, and only non-stop flights permitted in certain cases. Most non-immigrants are restricted from traveling from India to US, but students exempted. That was the understanding so far, but that also seeing an impact and a major hit. So if you are a student and your flight has been cancelled, what should you do? And what happens in a case like that? What's the legal route over here? Let's tell you that. Well, first up, protection offered in case of cancellations. That's what the government has guaranteed. Rescheduling of flights as well should be guaranteed by your airline. And if they are not responding, the DGCA, which is sort of the body which is looking into all these complaints with airlines, etc., should give out a detailed guideline. In fact, if you go to the website, they already have rules and regulations based on cancelling, on rescheduling, and all airlines must be complying by those rules. If you're not, then they are in violation. Remember that. Also, flights from US to India and back, how exactly are they stacked up? Well, at the moment, or this is subject to change, remember, but I'm telling you what the norm is at this time. 14 non-stop flights from USA to India and back operate. 9 of them from Air India. 4 operate from United Airlines. 1 operate from Delta Airlines as well, but they use in France and other sort of airlines to actually do this entire change and transportation. But also, then let's look at the possible reasons behind this change in schedule. Now, we haven't been able to get a word from these airlines. No statements quite worryingly have come out from them. And this is something that impacts so many lives. And remember, so many students looking to travel abroad. But what are the possible reasons? We've got some for you. Not enough demand to sustain daily flights. That's number one that we're picking up from our sources. Competition from United Airlines on the New York and San Francisco routes. That's another reason. Objections from US governments over Air India schedules as well. That's another reason. And US generally is slowing down flights from India due to COVID-19 fears and constant update that's happening. That's another reason why these delays, rescheduling, and almost untimely cancellations also taking place. But as of this moment, can you travel to US if you need to join university on a M1 visa? That's the concern over here. Remember, these were people who were exempt from the other travel restriction. Now, students can travel if they start, if the start of their program is on 1st of August 2021 or later. That was the understanding, and applicants who qualified as F1, M1 visa will be considered for national interest exemptions as well. That was again the norm that was set out. And if you have a valid F1, M1 visa, you may spend about 14 days in the third country before arriving to US. That was an option, and it was approved, and you did fall in the national interest exemption category and valid for multiple entries into US for about 12 months over there. So all these things were listed out. Yet you see massive confusion among students, not knowing which way to go, people running from pillar to post to try and understand whether or not they will manage to catch their flights, whether or not these flights will be functional and get them to their institutes and to their universities in time.